Do you ever get tired of anime? Or maybe start an anime, get like 3 episodes into it, and can never really enjoy it? I've noticed how I tend to do this a lot lately. I try to watch a hyped anime only to be bored or confused within the first 3 episodes, and I end up dropping it again and again. I actually did this with the anime I want to talk about today, and that is Mob Psycho 100. But before I go any further, real quick, if you could hit that like and subscribe button, it would mean a lot to me. Now let's get back into the video. Now for those of you who don't really know who Mob is or what Mob Psycho 100 really is, I'll be explaining it briefly for you and my experience on the show. Now, there will be a spoiler here and there, even though Mob Psycho isn't really an anime that can be spoiled like most other ones. But anyways, Mob Psycho is basically a world where some of the characters are born with supernatural abilities, like being able to see ghosts or make objects move and fly around. It focuses on the paranormal aspect of powers here, and not so much like in the superhero sense. So for example, you know how you see those TV shows or maybe sketchy looking websites or even semi-sketchy places of people saying they can read your future, or even those people that claim they can levitate or walk on water. That's basically what Mob Psycho 100 is about, but if it was actually possible to bend spoons with the mind and levitate. So to be honest, it took me probably like 3 tries before I could even start the anime. I would just get kind of bored of it real quick and had a habit of comparing it to One Punch Man, and I would just keep thinking it's a more boring version of One Punch Man. But later on I read that they were made by the same author, One, which made a lot of sense to me because if you've seen One Punch Man, you will see the resemblance in him and Mob Psycho's main character. So Mob is a very normal looking high school kid and has a part-time job as a medium or exorcist, since he is what is known as an Esper, the people with psychic abilities, and his boss Reagan gives Mob the jobs to exorcise bad spirits. I like though how they plant Reagan as a fake psychic in the show, and how they don't hold back on how desperate people will come to him for help, and he's able to con them out of their money by making it seem like he's doing rituals to rid them of fake ghosts and such, which actually happens a lot in the real world. You'll get a lot of people trying to sell you snake oil, as they say, a one for all fix to your problems, and then you can end up mistaking a placebo effect as actual results, and that's what people like Reagan prey on. Now how did Mob, a real Esper in the show, get involved with a con artist? Well, Mob is innocent and saw the ad of Reagan's services as he got popular and went to him as a little kid and asked for help with his powers. Reagan opens the door, thinks it's all a joke when Mob goes and asks for advice on his powers because he doesn't think that powers are actually real so far, but still gives the small Mob some advice, which is a hint here on how he may be a con artist, but he's not all bad. Mob shows him his powers, and Reagan basically gets excited and starts to use him to actually get rid of evil spirits for his company, while Mob thinks he's training him, and Mob is happy with it because he calls him Master or Sensei. Now I laid all that out because as the show progresses, I start to see a lot of deeper scenes within it, or I'm just reaching here. Anyways though, Mob's timid way of being and his inability to control his powers is because of his emotions. His emotions are what can set off his powers. Thus he's become a very emotionless person due to that, and to an incident that happened when he was a kid, when he let his emotions run wild, so he's traumatized. There's always this counter that reaches 100% when Mob is under extreme stress and he releases a emotion, whether it be sadness, anger, or rage. His powers amplified and he makes decisions based on his emotions at the time and uses his powers for a different reason each time. Now let me get a little philosophical here for a second with you guys. So lay down on the therapy chair and let's dissect this a little bit, because this is where I kind of like the show a bit more. It's more than just ghost fighting and espers and bending spoons every few episodes. Mob, like an actual person that suppresses his emotions, ends up missing out on a lot of nice things in life due to the fear of what his emotions might cause, and so he develops an anxiety like many people do, without the crazy powers of course. He ends up letting them build and build until he explodes, and sometimes loses himself when he's mad. As the show progresses, he slowly starts to learn to express himself more and more. He gets anxious and nervous when he tries to talk back to someone, but we see Mob growing up in the show through his trials and advice he gets from the friends around him. So like Mob, many of us may tend to suppress our emotions and ignore them until one day we blow up and make irrational decisions and could end up missing out on a lot of fun things, or making mistakes if you don't express yourself to the people you admire or those around you. And just like Mob is able to take advice from those around him despite him being stronger and maybe even being smarter, it shows that we sometimes, despite how capable we are, need to ask for advice from good people in order to be a better version of ourselves. Mob Psycho 100 shows a lot of this struggle with the characters, and I think it's a dope show overall because of it. It's something I didn't expect to like as much as I do now, maybe because it's a really slow build-up of Mob and his progress to being a better person and him trying to understand himself, and how he sometimes questions the villains on why did they become how they are. So it's interesting to see him piece together life and what causes a certain situation or person to become who they are. It can be a bit of a slow burner though, so if you get bored fast like me, then you might not not like it too much at first, but I think it's worth a try. It really becomes a fun show to watch and see Mob go from a timid, shy, and lost kid to a more grounded and happy person that can express himself. The author one did a good job here, but the comedy in the anime is pretty good also. A bit of slapstick and lots of body language to really bring out the jokes even more. And bundled together with some very wacky expressions the characters bust out, like Reigen's facial expressions when he realizes Mob might be seen through his bullshit is funny. Speaking of Reigen, I don't want him to just be the con artist completely. There are some very wholesome parts in the show that show how and what led him to where he is today. He wasn't always someone that had to trick people, and I think that's why he likes Mob a lot, because he no longer is in a position that he has to keep on being fake and actually can be truthful for once and survive in his daily life. There's one part where him and Mob get into an argument and Reigen is left alone and he keeps telling himself it doesn't matter, but eventually he realizes he's alone and has no real friends. We see a different side of him and how he truly did care for Mob the whole time and was never just using him completely. For an anime with such a cartoony look also, it definitely has really good animation. It is not lacking the fight scenes one bit. They're extremely well done, extremely intense with some slow-mo effects, a lot of good transition. They really are able to captivate your attention there. And we get to see Mob just straight up fucking some people up and saving the day. No deaths, nothing like that is needed, and it's still a top tier show. So basically, if you have seen One Punch Man and liked it, then you will most likely like Mob Psycho 100. The characters are fun and funny. The show has 3 seasons as of right now and has quite the fan base on Reddit, and has a pretty big rating on my anime list with a popularity of 34, which is well deserved in my opinion. Well everyone, that's all I really have to say about this anime. Go watch it, let me know in the comments what you think about it, and recommend me some manga or anime. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.